So in this video, we're going to see the Adaptable Blotter send data dynamically to ipushpull, which is a very powerful tool that allows you to then collaborate and share that data with other people through a host of media, including Excel, Symphony, and a number of other sources. And ipushpull and the Adaptable Blotter work very well together, where the Adaptable Blotter is the source of the data that is then shared and collaborated. So we're going to open our blotter. We're using a dummy price blotter commodity. It doesn't really matter what the dummy data set is. And we're going to start just by exporting a range of data to ipushpull. And by default, the Adaptable Blotter ships with 3 ranges: all data, selected cells, or visible data. We're just going to send all data in the blotter through to ipushpull. So let's start an ipushpull session. We need to log in. We need to choose a page, so let's choose this page. And that's now sent all that data through to ipushpull. If we go into ipushpull, there we are, we can see the data that we've just sent. And obviously this is live, so if I was to edit a whole load of bid offer spreads, let's do a smart edit now. Let's add 5 to each of those. You'll see they'll all jump. They've all moved up by 5. And then when I go into ipushpull, here we are, they've all moved by 5 as well, and everything else moves. So that's a very simple range which the Adaptable Blotter ships. But you can, of course, also send your own ranges. So let's do that now. Let's create a range. And a range is basically where you specify which data you want to send. But the beauty of a range is that once you create the query, you can then send that whenever you want. So you could create a range called end of day or my trades or my activity, whatever you want to call it. You specify which columns, which expression it should contain, and then each time you send that range in future, it will dynamically evaluate and export to your destination of choice. So for our range, let's imagine an example where you always want to see the index and interest rate filters, but you don't want to have to do it each and every time. So first of all, we're going to create something called a user filter. So let's remove that and you can see how it works. And a user filter is a nice way of creating your own filters for you to reuse again and again. So let's make it index and interest rate. We'll call that financial. And there we are now. Commodity type is index or interest rate. And I can use that obviously in my grid if I wanted to. There we are, financial. But I could use it anywhere else I want. I could use it for a style, I could use it for a search, I could use it in a number of places where we have functions that allow it. So let's now wrap that up in a range. So let's now create a new range. You can choose for a range whether to have all columns or selected columns. We'll keep it simple and use all columns. And let's now create our query. So let's say we want the commodity type to use our financial user filter, and let's add a second part to that expression. Let's say we want the change to be positive. So wherever the change is positive, the commodity type is in our user filter of financial. That's our range. We will call this positive financial. And now I can send that to ipushpull. I can start a new session. Let's send it to the same page. And that will now go off and that will refresh ipushpull. If we go into it, we can see there we are. We've just got index rate and interest rate. And in fact, because it's in ipushpull, that can now be shared with all ipushpull's other things. So Symphony, for instance, we have a Symphony page here that's looking at the same data. That's staying in sync with ipushpull, which is staying in sync with the Adaptable Blotter. So let's see that. Now, if we were, for instance, to go in, this one here is negative. If we were to change the price to be something very silly, but that's now made it a positive change in a very big way. And you can see, obviously, it's coming to here, into ipushpull, and obviously it's also coming to Symphony as well. And the beauty about the range is that we can change the underlying features whenever we want, and everything else will just work. So if we actually go back into our initial user filter, And instead of saying we want it just to be commodity type as index or interest rate, if we were to add currencies to our user filter, not save anything else, then automatically that will all feed through. So when I go now back into ipushpull, I can see currencies, and when I go into what is Symphony, currencies, and obviously now I could share that with a chat correspondent or do anything I want with it. So there we are. That is how the Adaptable Blotter sends data dynamically to ipushpull, and from there it can go to a number of other destinations, meaning that you've got true collaboration, true data sharing, just with a few clicks. Thank you for watching.